Welcome to the time of the Council of the Job Search Journey. My name is Stephen Swain and I am your host dealing with this video. So what is the Council for the Job Search Journey? It's a website that you can go to that I created. If you're looking for a job, you're looking for employment, the steps you need to take, they're there. Also, along with other resources and groups that you can link into in order to help you find, not only find a place to work, but also help you in order to facilitate and be better prepared for work. I also wrote a book called Walking Faith, Journey from Then to Now through James, and it's a devotional that goes through the book of James verse by verse from the Bible. And it is a book that I wrote to help those who are dealing with issues in their lives and they don't understand what's going on. They're looking for an answer. I believe that you can work through those and find those answers through that book. At the end of the video, where you can find all of that and the links to those sources will be given. Now, what are we doing with this video? This video is a three-part video dealing with networking and social interaction and the importance of it. A lot of times when we discuss networking and social interaction like we do with the area of unemployment, we think of it in terms of looking for a job, or if we are already in a job and we do sales-based stuff, we're looking for building our customer base for the businesses. However, there are some things in the discussion that often get left out, and we want to talk about those three areas. The first area is, what is networking? What does that mean? The second thing is, and that's what we're going to discuss in this video, the second thing is why should we network? What is the importance? What importance does it hold as far as networking and social interaction is concerned while we're looking for our job? And the third thing is, how should we network? Now those are important questions, and the other two will be discussed in two videos after this one. But for this one, we're going to talk about what is networking. Now, frequently when, just so you'll know, that none of this material that I'm going to present to you is something that I've developed on my own. So if there's something in here that I've learned from somebody else, I'm giving those people credit, and believe me, you will hear their names or their organizations mentioned, and I will also highlight those in show notes. So let's talk about the first question. What is networking? And now, true networking does not include the following. It does not include finding a job, okay? You're going to say, what? But it doesn't. It doesn't include finding a job. The second thing is, it doesn't mean getting the next promotion. We all like to think about getting the next promotion and going up, but it's not that. And doesn't mean gaining power. In other words, you're not gaining more information from people so that you can leverage that information in some way that will benefit you overall. That's not the purpose behind networking. That's not the purpose behind social interaction. And the fourth thing is, it is not an attempt to make better or more sales. Now, let me just say this much. These are the things that networking is not. It doesn't mean that it won't lead to those things. However, that is not the purpose behind networking, and that is not the purpose behind social interaction. Because networking is really, in reality, nothing more than social interaction. And through the years, we've forgotten how to socially interact with each other. We've allowed things like social networking online to take the place of personal one-on-one contact with other people. And therefore, we really do not know the people that are around us. Let me give you an illustration of that. A gentleman that I go to church with is one of our deacons. Love this man and love his wife. They are some of the sweetest people that you will ever meet. They owned their own business at one time. And then it occurred to me one day, I don't know what kind of business he's in. And so I networked with him. Guess what? I found out all kinds of cool stuff about it. And I found out that he and his wife and I have crossed paths probably 6 or 8, 10 times in my lifetime. So it's really interesting where you find yourself, and you make a better friend as a result. So networking may lead to those things, but in fact, if you network for those reasons that I just listed that networking is not, you may need to go see a counselor, because you're nothing more than a narcissist. You're using what you're gaining to try to do something with it, rather than just getting to know people, to understand people, to build relationships and to build friendships. So true networking is this. This is what true networking is. It is showing the ability to socially interact with others for the sake of building meaningful relationship that will benefit others. Nowhere in that definition does it ever say anything about you. Nowhere in there does it say anything about me. It has other people in mind. It's all about building a concept of making others the focus of our discussion, while sharing who we are along the way. There's a reason why in my book, Walking Faith, it talks about it being a journey. And there's a reason why my website that I created is called Counsel for the Job Search Journey. Why? Because we're sharing our lives with each other, not for a moment, even though there may be times when we will share with each other and our lives may cross paths for only a moment. But we need to make that moment as meaningful to each other as possible. And if you know how to network, and we're going to talk about that on the third video, if you know how to network, you and I will make that meeting, that one-time meeting, very meaningful. So that's it. So now we can go. No, right? No, there's more. So we'll talk about how to connect with people. Now, here's the key thing. You want to be a person who is congruent. Now, the word congruent is a geometry term, which means two lines that are of equal size and equal dimension. And mathematically, it basically means that 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? It's an equal number that's been put together. So you want to be, and I want to be, somebody that's congruent. In other words, I want to show as much respect toward my pastor, let's say, as I do the little child that's running through the church that shouldn't be running. And rather than getting on to them, I simply say, hey, why don't we slow down for a moment? And then I get on my knees and get at their level and talk to them like they're a human being rather than a monster. Being congruent means being the same person with each person that you come in contact with. Now, you may have some certain, because of who they are, you may have certain kinds of avenues and venues through which you, the way you treat them. But overall, they're human. They're a person. And you are doing what you can to put yourself out there to benefit them the best you can. You're congruent. Now, let me give you an idea of this. And a great illustration is when I was doing some network interviewing for a certain particular field that I was thinking about going into at one time, and still pretty much am. I was given the name because at the end of the interview, I always ask the question, do you know somebody else who may be able to give me more in-depth insight? And it's kind of hard when you're talking to some of the top people in that particular field. Who knows more than you? But you know, humility strikes in some very interesting ways, and they always have somebody else. And this particular gentleman's name was given to me. I contacted him through LinkedIn, and I connected with him. I found out that we could have a certain time, and I set up a time, and we couldn't meet face to face, but we could meet over the telephone. So I set up a 20-minute interview. Now, most of my interviews last anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes or even an hour. I allow the people that I interview to drive the time as far as as that is concerned. Because we're in a discussion, we're building a relationship. Nobody's in a hurry unless he or she has another appointment that sits behind us, and then we have to move it along. So I got on the phone with this gentleman. I went on for about 10 minutes with him, and it hit me all of a sudden in the back of my mind, why am I interviewing this person? This person has nothing to do with what I'm looking for. So why am I talking to this person? That was what came to my mind. Fortunately, I don't verbalize too much when what I'm thinking. And then it struck me. About 15 minutes into the interview, I began to realize that I was building a relationship. It had nothing to do, this person had nothing to do with that particular field. But he did have something to do with building a relationship. And I found out that this person loves to help people who are unemployed. You know what? Within 15 minutes of that discussion, what would have ended in 20 minutes, I promise you it would have, had I not put two and two together. In that 20-minute period, I built a relationship with somebody. I made a friend. Now, have they helped me find a job? Not really. Have they done anything spectacular for me? Not really. But what they did was they offered a lot of really solid, good advice and some encouragement. See, you don't want to network to just find a job. Because if you network just to find a job, or employment, or to get a promotion, or to use that knowledge to weld more power, or to make a sale, people are going to get tired when you come around. They're not going to have anything to do with you after the second, third time around. Because I promise you, if you're looking for employment right now, you're going to be looking for it in the future. And building a relationship does not mean that I build it for the moment. I build it to last, even though it may not, for various good reasons. But I build it to last at least as best as I can. So putting others first and getting to know that person is the single most important thing that you and I can do. So let's ask a question, and we'll put it into perspective on your side. Let me ask you this. Of all the people that you have ever known, who are the people who bring the warmest thoughts to your mind? I didn't ask who are the people who made the greatest impression, but who are the people that bring the warmest thoughts to your mind? Often it's somebody who has said something or done something, or said and done something, okay, that has helped or benefited you in some way. They're not somebody who asks for anything back. They're not somebody who has done something so that you could give back to them in some way, form, or fashion. They did it, or they said it because they genuinely like you. When I was working for a first law firm, there was a partner that I particularly did not get along well with. But I held my ground through the years, and I stayed with it. And the last day that law firm was in existence, just before it closed its doors, I was the last man out holding the key and gave it to the property management people. As I was going through checking things out, I ran across that partner. And he called me over and he says, "Hey, I've got a question for you." I go, "Yes, sir." I was always respectful to him, always nice to him, even when I disagreed with him. And those of you who have worked in law firms know what I'm talking about when I say you just really have to learn how to stand up for yourself. And I walked up to him and he said, "Here." And he handed me an envelope. He says, "That's my recommendation for you." He said, carry that with you to every interview that you go on, because it's back in the day when you did that. He says, in every interview you go on, you carry that with you. He said, I have appreciated you because you knew where to stand. I built a relationship. I built a rapport with this guy. Now, so you want to do what is best for others. So networking is learning to build meaningful relationships with others, not hoping to benefit from it for some reason or some cause, but connecting with others for the sake of benefiting them. They call that emotional intelligence. And when employers are interviewing people on the phone or on video, or when they're interviewing people face to face, that's what they're looking for. Can you connect with their need? Whatever that problem is that they're having, can you solve it? That's what you want to do. You want to come in to benefit the employer. And networking, if you practice true, good, solid networking, you will have that capability when you walk into an interview. Because you will know what to ask. You will know what to talk about. You will know what to discuss. So people who do this are people who have friends. And people who have many friends don't have need for many other things. One more example. And that comes from a movie that I love. It's a 1950s Western with Jimmy Stewart. It's called Winchester 73. You got to rent it sometime. And it's all about these men who are basically chasing after, these two men who are chasing after this man who has murdered Jimmy Stewart's father. And along the way they come across this rifle that's called a 1 in 1,000 Winchester. It meant it was perfect. Perfect aerodynamically. It was perfect in terms of mechanics. It was perfect in every way. You could rarely miss with this rifle if you really knew how to use it. Well, the character that they're chasing after, they run across him while they're in this contest to win this rifle. In fact, they have to come against him in that contest, and they win the rifle. Jimmy Stewart and his friend win the rifle. But in the process, the man steals the rifle and almost kills Jimmy Stewart's character. So now they're chasing after this man for two things, because he's murdered Jimmy Stewart's father and he's stolen the rifle. And everybody who comes in contact with this rifle, just purely out of the lust of it all, wind up dead. At one point, when Jimmy Stewart's character and his friend are breaking up camp and getting ready to move on, they're talking about what they're going to do after they catch this guy, because they know that they are that close to catching him. And they're talking about things. And the friend looks at Jimmy Stewart and says, "Are you sure you want to do this? You want to carry this out?" And Jimmy Stewart looks at him and says, "My daddy used to say that if a man has one friend, he's rich." And he tells him, he looks at him and says, "I'm rich." His friend had been going through thick and thin with him, traveled with him all this way, backed and supported everything he did, even though he questioned it a lot of times. He was there. The book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, chapter 4, verses 9 through 10, and then continues in verse 12, says this: "Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. For if either of them falls, the one will lift up the other, up his companion. But woe to the one who falls when there is not another to lift him up." And if one can overpower him who is alone, two can resist him. A cord of 3 strands is not easily and quickly torn apart. So what is those verses telling us about building relationships? First of all, building good, solid, strong relationships, that is what networking is, does have benefits and returns. We may not know what those benefits and returns are, and it may just simply be the following things that it lists. But either way, there is a benefit and there is a return to that relationship. The second thing is that it notes this, that when failure comes, and all of us will have them, and falls happen, people who really love us are the ones who will lift us up and help bring us along. Sometimes you just have to have somebody to carry you. And you know what? Sometimes you may be the person who does the carrying. The third thing is it brings security. Okay, so it brings security because when there is opposition against us, especially opposition that is uncalled for, those who are our true friends will stand with us. And then the fourth thing is this, it brings strength. The cord of 3 strands is not quickly or easily torn apart. Could you imagine your life interwoven with good, strong, solid relationships in and out of your life? People who know that they can depend on you, as well as people that you know you can depend on. It gives us ample opportunity to understand what relationships really are all about. So go out, network, make a friend, build a relationship, and do what you can to benefit others. That's one reason why I created the website, Counsel for a Job Search Journey, because while I was learning things along the way of in terms of how to best present myself to my next employer, I thought I've got to do something. I've got to share this information. So that's what I'm doing on that website. I want you to know what you can do to benefit yourself next. And along the way, hopefully you will benefit others. And others will continue to benefit other people as a result of what you've done in their lives. Now, I am a public speaker. There are 2 more sections to this that I can put together and package together and do public speaking. I can speak on most any topic. So if you have a group or an organization that would like for somebody to come in that could talk to them about whatever it is that is that you're dealing with at the time, or maybe you just want some good, strong encouragement, or you've got a church group that would like for somebody to come in and speak. The information at the end of this video will be provided so that you can benefit from what I have to offer to you. So on our next video, we're going to be looking at the question, why is networking so important? Why the big deal about it all? We're going to be talking about that. My name is Stephen Swain. I appreciate the time that you've given to me. I hope you benefited from this. Thank you very much, and God bless you.